Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. This is one that didn't really land on my radar until recently because I believe they're doing one of the sequel prequel things, and thought, yeah, why not give it a bash and see how it goes. It turned out to be surprisingly better than what I thought. I was suspecting it was going to be like full of all the cliches. It was a wee bit, but not too much. This was actually a solid movie and managed to create a bit of drama. Once again, it's one of these 2 hour things, which all the build up kind of could have been chopped out of it, maybe spent out more on the conclusion. But there you go. So if you haven't seen this kind of follows the story. We've got Kate and John. They're a married couple. We've got 2 kids. We start off with like a dream sequence where they're in the hospital. Kate's pregnant. Yada yada yada. And you can tell it's a dream or just the way the camera shots and all. So that's fair enough. You're not getting anything surprising there. So sure enough, turns out nothing's going right with the pregnancy, and it's a monster baby. But the reality is, she had a stillbirth, and it wasn't really clear because Kate's an alcoholic. They didn't specify was it because of her drinking or did the drinking happen afterwards. That wasn't really let out there. Hinted towards was, but it wasn't really kind of they explained properly. Sorry, I'm a wee bit tired. It's Friday after a long week at work. Trying to do these things no, it is a lot of fun and challenging, but got to crack on. Yeah, so that's kind of where they are. Also, Kate lost her job. She's a music teacher, and there's a whole lot of stuff, implied, if that makes sense, that basically Kate had a breakdown and their marriage has only just got back together after so much going on. Which is fair enough. It's good to keep a bit of mystery. Sometimes you don't need everything explained, but another trap this has fallen into is trying to put a wee bit too much in. Less is more sometimes. So they've crammed a lot of elements in here where I don't know, maybe it's because I'm got the reviewer head on when I'm watching these things because I'm paying attention. If this was just playing in the background or I was just watching it as a popcorn flick, I'd just be kind of nodding along and maybe not picking up as many of the beats as I am. So maybe that's with a lot of the movies I'm watching why I'm maybe overcritical because I'm actually paying attention to the plot. I'm paying attention to the dialogue more than I would be if I was just putting a movie on for fun, if that makes sense. Not that I can't enjoy a movie, but when I'm going to be on here and talking about it, either straight after or the next day, sorry, excuse me, then I want to focus, see what's going on. So when I have a criticism or praise, it comes from a place of knowledge that I've actually paid attention to the movie. So maybe that's why I dig a bit more into the plot than maybe I should. But there you go. There's a lot going on in the sort of background with their relationship and why they're where they are. John's like a successful architect, I think, designers type anyway, and kids seem happy enough. Daniel, the older boy, was nice, in the initial sort of thing, and then he turned out to be a complete dipshit, which was a shame because there was no need for that. I don't know. There seems to be a plot or a need to vilify characters to almost make excuses for the monster in modern horror. I think it's this whole trend of the anti-hero that's come about. So you just can't have a straight up villain. You have to have, an antagonist to make them that way or something. I don't know. There's no need for it. I think people are maybe trying to think too much when they're creating, and sometimes all we want is a simple, traditional good versus evil, and the monster, all that kind of stuff, and it's just your unluckiness in the universe that you happen to come across this sort of person. Yeah, there you go. This kind of is let out at the start, doesn't really, I mean, more and more gets revealed as we go along. So there we go. We've got Kate, she's in therapy, and revealing her secrets. We see the Shaz diary, all that kind of stuff. So they're laying the, I mean, they're putting the groundwork in. So it turns out they decide they want to adopt, which, considering they have busy lives and two kids already, seems a bit strange. But obviously they're doing it for the plot sake, because that's kind of the whole basis for the story. My question is with it, if they were childless, but then a lot of the plot wouldn't happen. If they maybe had one child and Kate wasn't able to conceive again, I would get it. If they weren't like super duper, because I have them in this massive house, so they're like top performers, all that kind of stuff. That actual part of the plot doesn't make sense. I'm thinking it's more written in for the like they want the aesthetics of the big house isolated. They want the aesthetics of the professional people, but they're maybe not thinking about the reality of it. So that's where the kind of movie is a bit difficult for me to like fully invest in the characters. Yeah, we'll say that it's difficult sometimes when their situation doesn't make sense the way they do what they do, and then you find it difficult then to invest, because the whole point of a horror movie is you have to invest in the protagonist. You have to want them to win. And even in like a slasher movie, you have to have the final girl or the final boy. You have to have that one character you're rooting for. If not, what I mean, there's no real point to it. The only time you can get away with that is long-standing franchises where the monster has become, what I mean, you're rooting more for the monster than the characters, but then the monster has to be established. But this is a brand new franchise because I think it's going to become one, but I don't know where it's going to go after the prequel. They're doing that with Pearl as well. I don't know whether to watch these or not. Let me know. Should I watch Orphan First Kill and should I watch Pearl? Because I reviewed X and I'm reviewing this, and I'm kind of in two minds. Should I jump in and do them? I have to think about prequels. They don't really add anything. I was thinking the story should move forward, and you can try it out, take it different directions. But that's whole going back thing to go forward. Um, doesn't really. Sorry, excuse me. I've got terrible wind. For flip's sake. Probably had a beer and I'm flipping burping like mad. That's the old steel tortoise. Sorry, that's why I'm not struggling with the words here. I'm just struggling not to do like brrr and scream, because that's a bit uncouth. Yeah. So let me know. Should I watch Orphan First Kill and Pearl? Are they worth it? Are they worth it in their own story rights? Because I don't really gel with a prequel thing. And I just think it's kind of lazy. I don't know. Creativity's kind of bankrupt. But with this, we've got the whole setup. They decide that they're going to adopt, and they go into the foster home, or the orphanage. And I don't know. That was all fine. Sister Abigail's character was quite decent. There was nothing like dun 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 to make you. When we first meet Esther, you knew something was up there anyway. I know the whole premise is their faces on the picture and all that kind of stuff. So you know she's the antagonist, the big bad. So she's coming across as too sweet and nice. Um, there's a bit of a stereotype or a joke here about Russians, um, because a lot of Russian women look younger than they are and that kind of thing. Particularly it's an Eastern European trait, just their genetics. But there's almost like a joke, and also maybe it's for the American audience of, oh, it's a foreign person, so that explains everything. You know, that's kind of funny too. So I was laughing at that, if that makes sense, because it's such an American. Oh, that's outside my state. I don't understand. What could possibly be wrong? Oh, and then write everything off as a being foreign. But that's the way they kind of introduced Esther, and it's kind of funny. And of course, she's a super painter and all that kind of stuff. And John actually meets her first, ends up talking with her, which is a bit of a setup for what happens later. They meet her, and it's all sweetness, love, and invite her to the house, or bring her to the house, because apparently you can just adopt somebody within 3 weeks, which is kind of funny too. Yep, you're rich. You want the foreign you want the foreign child. You'll do us. Rubber stamp. Job done. Like, I thought there was a whole process of interviews, and they had to spend time with each other first before the actual final step. But apparently, in this movie land, you can just adopt the kid like that. Maybe because they can do it in Hollywood, they literally buy kids from foreign countries. Maybe it's their reality. I don't know. I always thought the adoption process was kind of a serious thing to about that. But what do I know? I'm just a bloke with a camera and a microphone. But there we go. We also meet the kids as well. Up this, Daniel is a dipshit, and his dipshittiness comes out more. Max is a cool character. She's deaf, but she can hear slightly. She uses hearing aids, but everyone knows sign language. The wee girl who played this character, brilliant. Here's what I'll say. Okay, the strongest characters were Esther and Max. The actors that played them, they were definitely the strongest characters in this. The wee girl Max just accepting their fate, adapting their situation. What I didn't like was when Kate picked her up from school. It was school of the deaf. Maybe it's me being a Brit, but it's a bit uncouth just label it out there, because deaf people could read and don't need to be labeled. I don't know. It's not like a brand sort of thing, just still people. Maybe that's just my personal thing, but just the way it was labeled out with the school stuff, I just found a bit, just a bit crass. But anyway, we got to play this. Max is brilliant. When Esther comes with them and the whole interaction and the way she kind of takes Max under her wing at first, and there's a bond between them, was quite cool. And I thought it was going to go a different direction. Unfortunately, it kind of jumped into the stereotypes, became a wee bit cliche, which was a shame, because there was an opportunity there. I think with those two characters, the way they bounced off, there was an opportunity for them to team up and not to go the way it did. I don't know whether to spoil this or not, because I did enjoy it. Let me get this straight. I know I'm sitting here being hypocritical, but I did enjoy the movie. It was actually, I was really on board. There's just certain elements of it, especially when they spend so long. Like, all these movies seem to spend so long with the build up, and then everything's rushed at the end, which is bit of a shame, and it just all gets ramped up and then tied up. You really don't feel like you've had a satisfying conclusion. Where keep it a bit simpler. But we first see the issues now. This is where I say Max Egyptian. He's out. They're out in the garden of the rich. They've got land. He's got his target set up with a paintball, and a pigeon lands. And of course, first thing in his head is to shoot the pigeon with a paintball. Now those things hurt, and he should know it. If he's using paintballs, he knows that them things are lethal. Um, Also, from the age of him, just being able to run amok with a paintball gun, it's a bit stupid because you have to wear goggles and stuff. But um, I've hunted, I've fished. The thought of killing an animal just for pleasure and not food doesn't sit well with me. Don't. I don't. I really find animal cruelty distasteful. You are a weak, shitty person if you feel the need to be cruel to animals, especially if they're a pet or you come across them. It just bugs me. But the fact that this kid's first instinct and nothing's happened to, unless there's more like the kind of build a bit of a like dysfunctional family backstory, and maybe playing it it's letting him. But I think they've just made him a stereotype to be a disposable character. Yeah, that's where I kind of have an issue with this because him as a character and the way he instantly reacts to Esther, and that's what I'm saying about the whole 3 week thing of yeah, here you go, you got a kid, rubber stamp and sealed. So she was never introduced to the family. There was never like days where they met. They never got themselves used to the idea, oh, there's somebody joining us. They never found out whether it would get on or not. I just find that absolutely bonkers. Um, is that the way it works? Maybe somebody can explain to me because I don't think it is. You don't just get a random child, on your doorstep and introduce to your family. Surely there had to be some sort of mediation. And like when I got Ralph, my dog, got him from a shelter back home. I had to have interviews. I had to go to the shelter. I had to, interact with him minimum 3 times before they let me take him off. And I still had a visit afterwards to make sure that I had him set up and, everything that he needed, that kind of stuff. And if that happened with me with a dog who I had for a long time, brilliant. Miss him deeply. He passed away last year. Yeah, how can you just have a kid? Hey Chris, how are you? Happy Friday to your good self. My eyes are out here in stalks because it's just been we've had tube strikes and all sorts. So I've been uh, not getting home like 8 o'clock at night during the week, and obviously I don't want to let the channel go to waste. So I'm trying to do these reviews and not fall asleep while I'm doing it. Need to make a horror movie about an angry wife that when you ask what's wrong, she says, "You know what you did." That's scares me more than anything else these days. Yeah, you can have a, "You know what you did. You know." A ghost story. I think that wasn't on. We could talk about ghosts being the way they are. Yeah, you know what you did. Just the angry wife. Um, I'm thinking Ghostbusters, the librarian. It'd be very similar to that, except she would roam about your house. Or God, Sixth Sense. The wife that opened all the cupboards up. Who ended up killing herself. That what I mean, it's that sort of thing. Yeah, you can't hurt me anymore. Rah. Uh, yeah, it's all good fun. But yeah, back to this movie. Yeah, I don't understand how all of a sudden you can introduce a child, and when the story comes to light, the fact there's no due diligence that you can just have. But then we make there's crap like that happen in the UK at the moment. You've got 40-year-old school children um, coming over on boats, and because freaking politicians are bonkers, are putting them in school with kids, and the kids are looking going, "That's not one of us." And that's another thing that's a bit mad about this movie because you know something's not right with Esther. Now, I don't, this has been around since what 2008, it came out. So I don't know if I'm spoiling it, giving it away, but yeah, when it's revealed what she is, everyone would know within 5 minutes. Like you'd know within 5 minutes there's something not right with this girl. Now, this is where I'm saying the acting's brilliant. The wee girl that plays this was I think she was only 12. So she was 12 playing a 9-year-old who's actually, older, and the wee girl pulled it off. I have to say that. The whole thing with her taking Max under her wing and then intimidating her, and then the whole, like after the bird, he shot the bird. Holy crap! That is the ultimate question. Here's the thing: horror is such. Everyone just thinks slasher movies when they think horror, right? And that's not slashers like the rom-com of horror. You know what I mean? It's the popcorn flick. But for example, like this here, this is more psychological horror. You've cosmic horror, you've gothic horror, you've monster movies, you've got supernatural horror. Oh my god! Like you name it, it can be made into horror. You can have horror love story. You know what I mean? You can have romantic horror. My favorite. I love monster movies. All right, I love the Inhuman Monster. I love portals to the other realms, that stuff. That's why I love Prince of Darkness, and turns out can't really into it, but I love the whole other realm thing trying to come through into our world and us trying to stop it. So things like Prince of Darkness, Nightmare on Elm Street, love that's talked about that. Was me ultimate. Freddy's a demon, essentially, and that's the whole thing by invading people's dreams. Well, that's just supposed to be your safe space. That's a bit where you sort your own mind out and configure your thoughts from the day. And that's you've got a demon actually invading it. Evil Dead. If you love comedy horror, the House series or House 1 and 2, 3 or 4 about crap. House 1 and 2 if you like comedy horror, and the Evil Dead series. Ash versus Evil Dead, the actual TV series. You can watch it on its own without fully understanding the movies. Fantastic, just that goofy horror. Terrifier, but that's not if you're not into horror. Don't jump into the Terrifier series because that's full on splatter, a gore fest. The likes of this, I actually enjoyed this. This is worth a watch. I'll say that. I'm just picking apart plot points because I have to sit here, and think about what I'm watching and talk about it. And you can't just, switch your brain off and not pay attention. Or else this movie would be about 5 seconds long. But yeah, I really liked it, but I didn't like these bits. That's it. Yeah, not fussed in the Halloween series. I've said that before. Just the Friday the 13th series was fun. You just don't take it too serious. Like, no, the first movie, brilliant, iconic. After that, it's a bit of a jumbled mess until the fourth one, and then the fourth one just goes with it and really enjoys it. It depends yourself. What do you enjoy? When you think of a horror movie, do you like jump scares? In that case, things like The Black Phone, Sinister, the Insidious series, those sort of movies might be up your alley. Do you like the idea of possessions and your soul being taken over? Do you like religious iconography? In that case, The Exorcist series, or God, what else I've got? Preacher's more of an action movie. Priest is more of an action movie. Preacher series more of a comedy. Some of the other ones I've watched, like EFA and stuff, like there's some random ones. Do you like daft movies? Do you like daft sort of half action flicks? In that case, Critters, uh, Killer Sofa, which we talked about. You know what I mean? If you like those sort of movies, that's up your alley. There's so many rabbit holes in horror you can go down. If you like psychological horrors, uh, you've got likes of this Orphan. You've got Hereditary, which is sort of cross between psychological and supernatural horror. Right. So if you're more cerebral, then you're gonna your wife's gonna like Midsummer. Apart from the daft parts, she's gonna like the Wicker Man, the first one. You know, the original, not the Nicolas Cage version. We've talked about that. Oh god, that's horrendous. She's gonna like god, what else is there? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. The first one's definitely there's a cerebral aspect to it, and it's just a bunch of normal people getting caught in a horrific situation like that. Oh my god, there's one with Mark. No, not Mark Wahlberg. Sam Woodworth. No, Sam. He appeared. He was in Clash of the Titans. There's one with him where it's a guy that lost his daughter. Your wife probably like The Sixth Sense as well. God, there's so many. If you watch this, if you see this channel, I have covered tons of movies and I've barely scratched the surface in this period of 2 years. And that's with Cameron and Adam as well, helping me out and doing reviews and joining in. My God, you know what I mean? The depths are so far. The best thing to do is to find 2 or 3 movies that you like in particular and then dive down the rabbit hole and go for independent ones as well. Don't just go for the mainstream, but go for independent horrors and look for ones like it. You surprise yourself. It also depends on your mood. It really depends on your mood. What if you're just in the mood for popcorn, a couple of beers, bit of pizza, and just switch your brain off, then slasher movies are it. That's what they're for. If you want to think about this one, requires you to think about to get there. Yeah, it kind of goes a wee bit cliche towards the end, but there's a couple of there's some real elements here. Particularly with the Esther character, why she is the way she is, how she ended up, where she ended up, and how her character developed. So there's a lot of psychological stuff going down that you can really delve into. Does her condition make her the way she is, or was she like that and this just provided her an opportunity? You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. It's flip sakers. That's the beauty of horror. You can take one sliver of it and you can delve deep, and you can have so many discussions on things. That's why other franchises, sci-fi, fantasy, they're easily destroyed. They're more fragile. You look at how quickly Star Wars, Star Trek, by getting the wrong people involved and not actually having love, managed to derail the entire franchise. And people now are just sick of it. Look at the comic book stuff. People just got fed up because they're that shallow. Unless you have really talented people creating them, the subject's really shallow. This is why the same people have tried it in horror, but they're really just a blip in the radar, and they don't get the same reaction because this, for what's considered a niche franchise, is so deep and has so many topics, and I hate using the word diverse, but it is. We've been the original weirdos that, as long as you're into what we're into, crack on, have fun with it. You try to be preachy and stuff, well, nobody cares. It's that's why they don't get the reaction, because they don't get the response, because people here have been around. I look like a complete normie when I'm out and about. Nobody can tell that I'm into this kind of stuff. I don't wear like a uniform, if that makes sense. which seems to be expected with a lot of franchises. But you have your social media facade in terms of horror. You know, you see all the like goth people, but they're not what horror's about. This franchise has been going since cinema began, since novels began. The first written fiction was horror. If you think of Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, Anne Rice, you think of those, you know, those people, horror, and they've stood the test of time, and different opinions as well. And it's all cool. So you have so much material to work with. It's you can kind of find your own path, and yet you don't have to like all horror to be a horror fan. If that makes sense. You can delve into your little corner and right, I like splatter stuff. Cool, stay in your lane and enjoy that. The important thing is not to pan other people, or the question is, heavy metal is very bad for it as well. This isn't heavy metal. This isn't horror, you know. And they're the superficial people, but they don't represent, you know, everybody else, and they aren't the ones that keep the franchises going. So that's why there's almost something for everybody. Because even if you're not, if you don't like being scared, you can still enjoy horror because that's what horror comedy is about. If you don't like gore, then that's where the psychological thrillers come in. 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams. That's a great psychological horror, and yet no blood is spilt in that movie. What's another one? Triangle. That's more of a sci-fi horror. That actually involves time travel as well. Once again, until the very end, no blood spilt, but it's still a gripping horror because it has you like thinking on the edge of your seat and wondering what the hell's coming next. Thanks for this, Chris. I kind of went on a tangent. God's sake, we've been going half an hour. Well, let's get back to the movie. So things get wrapped up. Things get revealed about Esther, more about her past. She develops an unhealthy obsession with John. There's one particular scene, and it shows how much of a wimp John is, because he's not a strong character. One bottle of wine, and he's out for the count. And they did the whole. This is where it took me out because they had him looking as if he was blurry eyed and stuff. You know, that camera shakes, and it was totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary because you had a great actress here who played Esther, Isabel Furman. I'm interested to see what she's doing since. But you see her dressing up in adult clothing, was still a kid and trying to seduce him, and it was really disturbing. Nothing happened, but the way they set him up took away from that scene, which could have been really gripping. And then you see her psychosis take effect, and then it just ramps up, and that's where it gets a wee bit messy because then this just accelerates from that scene onwards, and bit silly where they had taken their time. They hadn't spent maybe so long in the build up and taken their time towards the end. This would have been really gripping, but you had a kind of satisfying end the way it worked out. She could come back, she might not. It's kind of left open there. I don't know if they're doing this prequel. I might, do you know what? I'll see what I'm doing over the weekend. I've a few things that get sorted out. Some working episodes to record, things to plan, but I'll definitely do it on tomorrow at some point. If I have time, I might give it a bash over the weekend. Maybe talk about it Saturday night or Sunday. But all in all, I enjoyed this movie. For all my criticisms, I did enjoy it. Because I'm maybe being a bit more focused than the average moviegoer is why I'm picking up points. But that's the whole point of doing this. The whole point of me is to actually look into the plot, what happens, what makes the story, and if I don't enjoy a movie, it's only fair to explain why. If I do enjoy a movie, it's only fair to explain why. I don't like these one word of, you know, this is a shit movie. If you like it, you're a dick. You know, that type of social media conversation. That's pathetic. Try to be grown ups in this channel and have a bit of fun at the same time. You know, I could absolutely adore a movie and someone else hate it. That's the world. That's why we have so many different movies. Because we all like the same thing. There'd be 5 movies in the world, we'll all watch them and that would be it. 2 music, 2 songs, and a book that we all read. And what fun's that? I mean, that's the whole point, is that really, everyone's different. We all take different journeys. And if we all read exactly the same stuff, there's stuff. Now, if you know Cameron on this channel, he is the fountain of all knowledge horror. He knows all the director's pets. He knows where they went to school. He knows their complete discography. He knows the makeup artist. He has the fountain of knowledge. I've been able to tell him stuff that he didn't know because my journey's been different. And that's only happens briefly, but I really hold on to them moments. I'm like, I knew something you didn't. And it'll last about half a second and then he'll bombard me with loads of facts, but about something else. But that's the joy of movies, stories, and connecting with other human beings, is that everybody brings something different to the table. So if everything was exactly the same, well, we'd have nothing to explore with each other, if that makes sense. And that's why I do this as well. I want to explore my journey in movies, share it. You might watch it, you might not. You might have a different opinion. I've had people put recommendations and then I've went with it with the movie. Actually doing it around. I'm flipping a quarter way through Stephen King's It, because I've been asked to do a comparison between the book and the 2 versions of the show, which hopefully next week ish by the time I get finished, because I forgot how long and drawn out that book was. It's humongous. I'm reading the bus on the way to work at the moment, just trying to get a couple of hours a day, reading it. But that's my journey. Somebody else might never have read it, want to pick it up, or what I think about it might put them off. So be it. That's why we're all here, to recommend, bounce ideas of each other, and come up with new ones. But there you go. There's my review. Hopefully, I've dropped enough hints, but it's spelled out almost in the trailer, and the movie's been around long enough now. I haven't completely spoiled it. It's worth a watch. I did put a link in the description, so I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out there. And let me know what you think. Do the clicky typey things, get the channel around. We just had one of our horrific tales drop there before I went live. Jay Wales, Nanjing Fried Rice, check that out. Make sure you support our authors who take part in the show. And until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.